Hello again, everyone. It is the afternoon. I hope you're enjoying our July offering of webinars, so thank you so much for attending. I've put the events link in the chat function, so feel free to view this off after the webinar and book on any. They're completely free to attend. So do you know that LinkedIn is the most effective business-to-business social media platform, and that it's so much more than your online CV? In this 1 hour webinar, Kathy Ennis, business mentor and trainer of Little Piggy, will help you to look at getting more business from LinkedIn and connect with potential clients and partners. Discover how to make the most of your presence on this highly effective business networking tool. You're welcome to ask questions during the presentation. There'll also be a live Q&A afterwards. So please use the Q&A function when you have a question. Right, Kathy, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Kaylee. This is my first webinar for the Chamber, and I'm really chuffed to be doing this. Thank you so much, and thank you all for being here this afternoon. I'm feeling quite giddy because there are so many people here, but it must be because it's Friday afternoon, so a little bit of that Friday feeling. As Kayleen said, my name is Kathy Ennis and my business is Little Piggy. I'm a business mentor and trainer. I'm based in West Norfolk in Old Hunstanton, but obviously in this day and age, it doesn't really matter where I'm based. I could be on Mars doing this as well, but it's lovely to see you. We're looking at LinkedIn today on behalf of the Chamber, and this is part of a programme that my colleague Emma, who I'm going to introduce in a second, and I cover in lots of different ways. We cover lots of different social platforms. LinkedIn is one of our favourites, and I think it's one of our favourites because a lot of people perceive it as being something that it was perhaps 10 years ago, and it's not that anymore. So what we love is when the light bulbs come on people's heads and they think, oh, so that's how I can use it for my business. So that's really something we love. As I said, I'm a business mentor, so I work with businesses to help them be as effective as they possibly can, and I deal with quite a lot of the non-sexy stuff, which is planning processes, automations, and basically getting stuff done. One of my key things is around engagement marketing, and that's where I work really closely alongside my friend Emma, who runs a really smashing digital agency, and I'm going to pass over to her now to say hello as well.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Great to be here. I'm from down the road, actually, in Essex. Please don't hold it against me. I am in Essex. So it's my first Norfolk Chambers webinar today, so brilliant to be here, and thank you everyone for attending. It's great to see so many of you on the call. As Kathy said, Kathy and I work together really well. Kathy does all of the really essential stuff that we as business owners tend to forget, the planning, the processes and systems, and then I do all the sexy creative stuff on social media, blogging, email newsletters, etc. So once you've got all your systems and processes sorted out, I help people get their message out online in the best, most cost-effective way. So today I'm going to be sharing best practice on LinkedIn, how to communicate effectively, and how to get more bums on seats and ROI from your social media activity.
Yeah, and I think she's doing herself down because she keeps saying I do it, but she's got a massive team. And she cracks the whip. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. We've got some slides to go through. If you've got any questions as we're going through, please don't hesitate to ask them, because although we're having a bit of a Q&A at the end, what we do want to do is to make sure that you don't lose the question or you don't lose the momentum. So ask the questions as we're going through, and we'll do our best to pick them up as we are doing that. And so I'm just going to share my screen now, which should allow me to show you the presentation.
That's okay, don't worry, Mary. Great to see you.
Okay, so I just want to put a little bit of a proviso in here. at the moment. You might see as we're going through the slides that there's something called 24 degrees sitting in the background. As I said, Emma and I work really closely together, and we've been working really closely together for the last year. The consequence is that during lockdown, we've basically set up a second business where we're both working together, which is called 24 degrees, and we will be letting people know more about that as time goes forward. So this is the first outing of our new brand. So we'd love some feedback from you at the end. So we're looking at optimizing your LinkedIn profile for business today. So, and as Emma said, it's very much about how you get the most out of this really, really powerful platform. So that's us. We've told you all about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dive straight into the first slide, and I'm going to ask Emma to start talking about why LinkedIn.
Thanks, Kathy. So why LinkedIn as opposed to any other of the many social media platforms out there? As business owners, we've got a wealth of choice in terms of how to get a message across. But as we all know, we're all busy people, and we haven't got time to be posting on platforms that aren't going to get us engagement. And for B2B marketing, LinkedIn is the #1 platform. In terms of size, it's probably the 3rd biggest social media platform in the UK now, 27 million users in the UK. Since it got bought out by Microsoft a few years ago, it is growing hugely. The growth in terms of engagement and users shows no sign of stopping. And for those of you that haven't dipped your toe in LinkedIn, I'd highly recommend you start, and hopefully today will inspire you to do that. And for those of you that have been on it for a while, you'd have seen how much it's changed. In terms of gender split, we're getting to an even balance now, which is fantastic to see. It wasn't always like that. Before, it was a place where you hosted your CV and told somebody how wonderful you were, how many degrees you had, and what your new job changes were, and perhaps you'd go onto LinkedIn to get a new job. Now, actually, it's becoming a place where you share your business story. It's becoming a bit of a work-life Facebook, so people are sharing a lot. A typical LinkedIn post nowadays would be talking about business success, business failure, and how you pivoted, to use the expression of the day. It's really a place to share opinions and thoughts. But Nigel in our chat actually just raised a really good question. Is LinkedIn purely for networking, or can you get business from LinkedIn? Absolutely. LinkedIn is a place where the people that are going to sign on the bottom line and hand over money, that's where they hang out. So for people that are thinking, actually, especially in lockdown, I need to keep visible and I need to secure my pipeline, because none of us know what's going to be happening over the next few months and years to come. LinkedIn is an absolute crucial part of any marketing strategy from a B2B point of view, I would say. And in terms of the type of people on there, it's just decision makers. It's the people that are going to say yes. And it offers you access to those type of people in a way that Twitter and Facebook just don't bring in those type of leads. We'll come on to how you actually use LinkedIn to share your opinions and your posts. But if you look at Google Analytics on a B2B site, you should see that LinkedIn is a huge driver of traffic.
Yeah, and I just want to pick up there on something that Emma said, and something, you know, picking up on what Nigel said about bringing you business. I think one of the things I will say is about any marketing or any social marketing that you actually do, you need to have a strategy behind it. So simply by posting, it won't bring you business, but posting with an intention to achieve something will. And I think this is the thing that we want to get across, is that it's, and we will probably say this more than once, it's not quantity, it's quality. It's quality and consistency. So if you decide that you want to engage on a platform like LinkedIn, it's no good coming in on a Monday of one week and then not appearing until the Tuesday of the 2 weeks later. There has to be a consistency through it, and there has to be a quality of the type of thing, because after all, this is social networking, and networking is about relationship building. And if you say hi to somebody once and then they don't see you for another 3 weeks, you've got to start the process again. So I think it's really key that you go into it with a strategy behind it.
That's a great point. Thanks, Kathy. And I was just going to pick up on something Oliver's asked in the Q&A regarding the difference between premium LinkedIn and the free version of LinkedIn. Everything that we're going to be talking about today can be accessed on the free version. Kathy and I are running an in-depth workshop next Friday, which we're going to tell you more about, where we look into prospecting. I would say for the majority of businesses on this call today, the free version will give you enough contacts to prospect. I think Oliver, you might need to remind me what your business is. There's going to be certain industries or sales functions or job titles that might need the premium, but absolutely everything today is on the free. And I think the premium at the minute is about £40 a month. I personally have got better things to be spending £40 a month on right now. And you should see enough wealth of tips and tricks to remain on the free until you want to kind of supercharge it and move on to the premium.
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting question. I've never felt the need or the temptation to go on to premium, because there's enough functionality in the free version to really allow you to dig deep and to start creating strategic contacts and connections through the general normal functions. And I know that Emma and I did a training session for a very large Scandinavian company a few weeks ago, and they were thinking about getting premium for most of their staff. And when we showed them what they could actually do with just the free version, basically it was cling in terms of their bottom line, that they knew that they didn't have to pay that amount of money. So yeah, it's something to really consider. Only start paying for things when you really have to pay for them. Okay, so I'm going to leave this up to you, Emma, as well.
Okay, thanks, Kathy. So like I said, LinkedIn was bought out by Microsoft a few years ago, and since then they've put in a huge amount of R&D into the platform. And what we see now is the rollout of new features that happens on Facebook and Instagram in particular happen on LinkedIn just as quickly. So what does that mean from a business owner's point of view? Well, it means that we need to start thinking about the algorithm. And I know some people get scared of the word algorithm, think that the algorithm is there to not get them seen. If you fall foul of the algorithm, you'll never get any business. Actually, the algorithm isn't as complex as all that. What it wants to see is people engaging with your posts, people commenting, liking and sharing your information. And to do that, we need to build up conversations. Kathy alluded to it earlier. What we can't do is just pop something on LinkedIn and kind of shout at people and scream at people, buy me, buy me. We can't do that anymore. People love to share their opinions. We're all creatures of ego. So I would really recommend thinking about your business and thinking about your clients and your prospects' pain points, and start thinking about the conversations where you can actually invite people to leave you comments. That way the algorithm knows that your stuff is engaging and knows that your stuff elicits responses. Kathy's put up a screenshot here of when she was talking about the fact that she couldn't see any, in inverted commas, normal business women on picture libraries. So she was asking her network, please send me women in normal situations, wearing normal clothes with normal coloured teeth, not the kind of white teeth, bronzed images that we all see on photo libraries nowadays. Kathy got 1,600 people viewing that post. I think she had like 30 comments of people were interacting. It's that kind of stuff that gets people engaging, rather than I've got this to flog, come and buy it with a 10% discount. People are tuning out to that, especially now in lockdown. We're really pushed in terms of our brain space. And I don't know about anybody else, but come to 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon after a week of Zooms, people's attention spans are really low. So you need to stop them in the tracks and get them thinking. Hashtags. I get asked this question a lot, when to use hashtags and when not to. So hashtags are great on LinkedIn. Please don't use them on Facebook. They don't work in the same way. And Twitter, they're absolutely crucial. On LinkedIn, we can search by content by hashtags. So if, for example, I wanted to hashtag search by hashtag entrepreneur or hashtag Norfolk business, I will get served a collection of posts and people that relate to that hashtag. That can be brilliant for prospecting. So if you're in a particular industry and let's just say hashtag leisure, hashtag travel, follow that hashtag. You'll start to see that type of content appear in your feed. But most importantly, you'll start to see the movers and shakers in that collection, and you can start to network with them and build up conversations. Tagging. You can now tag people on LinkedIn. So whenever you do a virtual or physical event, start thinking about who you can tag. when we tag other people, their network gets notified, so our stuff gets in front of other people's networks, and it means your company can be amplified much further than if you were just posting within your own smaller network. And that was a workshop that Kathy and I did, I remember a few months ago before lockdown. We had 12 people in that space, so each of their networks got notified, and the amplification, the viral effect was huge on that. Okay, for those of you thinking, well, this all sounds great, but what do I actually put on LinkedIn? Have a think about what type of articles you could write for LinkedIn. Become an author. That would certainly separate you from every other person that's purely posting out kind of sales information. You can now go live on LinkedIn, and you can also create slide shares and images. If you've done a presentation or you've created a video, put that on LinkedIn too. Don't think it has to be just a plain text post or plain image post. You can do really, really creative things now on LinkedIn using their functionality.
It's funny, when I looked at that post that exemplifies the tagging, it just seems so long ago. Actually being in a room with 12 other people delivering stuff, it was really quite strange. But that post actually went really, really far because of the tags. And I mean, one of the things about the ability to put stuff up other than just your bog standard post, the article side of things, one, it's a thought leader piece, but also if you're somebody who is starting a business or thinking about changing business, it's a great way to start communicating with people before you've got a website with a blog on it and various things like that, because it actually starts to put you in front of people. So yeah, I think it's if you think you know what LinkedIn is because you used it a while ago, I would definitely recommend that you go back in and have a look, because it's become so much more than it used to be.
Thanks, Kathy. And I was just going to say, for anyone that wants to know why I'm dressed in a squid costume, do chat, and I will explain all.
Yeah, we need to pick CP Squiddy again. I think that's a key thing. So I'm gonna pick up on things to do with your profile, because I think that the obsession often is what do I post, what do I post, what do I post? But actually what we've got to make sure is that everything that's on our profile and our calling card is actually telling people who we are, what we do, and how we do it. And it becomes engaging, and it makes people want to connect with us and start building that networking relationship with us. So there are various points in your profile that I think that you really need to pay attention to. So the first thing is your profile photograph. Now, this is the image on your LinkedIn profile that ends up in the circle. Okay, key thing about that, your personal profile, it should be of you. And it should be of you making eye contact with people that are visiting your profile. That's not the place for your logo. If you want to use the logo driven side of things, we're not going to go into company pages today, but I will mention it, and we will mention it as we go through. Your logo would go on your LinkedIn company page. This is where you're making links with each other. If you put this into the situation, if you're attending a face-to-face networking event, you wouldn't go in there with a mask on, one hopes. So we need to make sure that it's a photograph of you. One very simple thing to bear in mind as well is the photograph ends up in a circle, which looks like that, okay? But they ask you to upload a square image. So please make sure that there's nothing important in the corners, because if there is anything important in the corners, it disappears. All right, so so we want a nice headshot, just front and center, staring out, looking at people, little bit of a smile. So we need to have that up there. The second thing that you should be paying attention to is your header image. Now that's the oblong rectangular image that sits behind your profile photograph. This is your promo space, if you want to put it that way. I always liken it to the side of a bus, you know, as a bus drives past and you've got an ad on the side there. this space is where you can actually tell people a little bit more about yourself. All of this top level space on your profile is about getting people to buy into you more and to recognize you for who you are, what you do, and how you do it. That header space can be changed regularly. So if you're running a certain promotion, or if there's something important happening in your business, you can actually use that space to promote that activity as well. If you use a design platform like Canva, which is one of the easiest to use, and there's a freebie version of it, you can get really good looking templates that you can adjust to your own color scheme, to your own fonts and those sorts of things, and it will be a properly sized up image for your header space. So make sure that you use that space as much as you possibly can. If you've still got the preloaded LinkedIn version, which is like a blue background of what look like synapses or things actually connecting with each other, get rid of that, get something up there, and something that does you and your business a bit more of a favor, if you want to put it that way. Your name. Here's a wee hack for you, okay? In your description, so on my description, you can see it starts there, says micro business mentor, I help you, blah, 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 all of that kind of stuff. You get a set number of characters in that space. And if I were to actually put into that space mentor, trainer, speaker, author, it would cut down on my ability to actually put in there some of the things that I do. So a little hack is that if you've got a shortish surname, you can actually use that space to put in actually what you do. So Kathy Ennis, accountant, Kathy Ennis, boat builder, Kathy Ennis, marketing manager for whatever. I can actually put that in there. The other plus point on that is that when people tag you in a post, your name and that whole description of who you are and what you do comes up in that tag as well. So anybody else looking at that mention of you is going to see, oh, Kathy, she does mentoring, she does training, she does speaking. So it's actually a really nice little hack to get that in there. What that means then is that your professional headline allows you to be a little bit more descriptive, allows you to share some personality. Yeah, I've put in there that I'm a business mentor, but I've also put in there that I'm the chief cat cuddler. So this is where Emma and I differ, because she's very much a dog person, but my cats don't know that. And anytime she comes here, they don't leave her alone. And some of the other things that I do around Enterprise Nation, and some of the work I do with Facebook and those kinds of things as well. And Emma, tell us what you've got in yours, because that actually really puts you into perspective.
Got Buddhist mother and Essex girl.
Real Essex girl. And I can assure you, even though she's gone stir crazy with shoes over the whole of lockdown, she does not wear black tights with white stilettos. So that's one thing in her favour. Your contact information. This is one of the main things that I find is a problem on lots of people's profiles, is that they don't put their contact information in there. So they do a lot of work on their profile, and then they fail to actually complete all of the contact information. So if somebody wants to phone them or email them or find out a little bit more about them, the stuff just isn't there. So I'd make sure, if nothing else, that contact information is current, and that it allows people to get in contact with you. And again, just a little hack here. In the section that says website, one of the things that a lot of people do is they simply put a link to the homepage of their website, which might seem logical, but actually it's probably one of the worst things you can do, because it's like, when you get to the homepage, so what? It's much easier to actually make sure that you put the link through to something where people can take action. The other thing is that you get the option to put in 3 links. So it's not just one link to a website, it can be up to 3 links. So on my one there, I put a link through to where people can book a complimentary call with me, just to have a half-hour chat through something that might be a problem in their business, or something they might want to just talk through. I put a link through to one of my books so people can buy it from Amazon, and I've also put a link through to my blog, where hopefully there's stuff in there that people can use and people can read. So that top level, your business card section, if you want to put it, if you need to make sure you get that right, because the way most people work with the profile is that most people make a decision at that point. Some scroll down, so you do need to make sure the other bits and pieces are there as well, but they will make a decision from that top level space. So if you haven't got those things working, I'd make sure that you work on those. And then when you get to your about section, please, no third person. Please don't talk about yourself as if you're a tin of baked beans. Please make sure that what you're talking about, this is one place where you can talk about you as you. So I did this, I do that, this is what I think, this is what I believe. This is about making connections with people and building relationships, as I said, and building friendships. So don't put that sort of third person barrier in front of what you're doing. Okay. Anything you want to add in there, Emma?
I'm just going to pick up on a question actually that Marcus asked in the Q&A, if we both answer that, Kathy. So the question was, does all of that stuff just relate to people that are self-employed or businesses? So I would say that we are the face, especially now, we are the face behind our business. So every person within the business needs to make sure they have a personal brand as well. Business pages, company pages on LinkedIn can't grow as quickly as a personal profile. So you do absolutely need both.
Yeah, and I will say that if you are a business, a multi-person business, that the individuals need to be able to show their personality. But what you may need to do if you have a business with a larger number of staff is to give them guidance and guidelines in terms of how far they can go. So talking about this company in Sweden that we worked with, this was one of the things that we made very clear to them, is that staff should know that whatever goes on should be brand driven, but the brand should allow them to be the person that they are within inside that hub, if you want to put it that way. So guidance and guidelines are absolutely key, but not so much so it suppresses the individual. Okay. So getting to know your settings. You know, this was one of those light bulb moments for me, because I didn't even realise some of the things that you could do with your settings. Because what happens is a lot of people go in there into LinkedIn, they set up their profile, they put an about section, they put their contact information, and they think that's that. But there are so many other things that you can actually do with your settings. So key thing is, make sure that you know where your settings and your privacy section is. So if you go to that little circle at the top of your profile that says me underneath it, and you hit that drop down button, there's a settings and privacy button that you can click. And in that space, it allows you to do certain things. So number one is make sure that the only person that can see your connections is you. The reason we're saying this, or the reason I'm saying this, is that what you will have is you will have people on LinkedIn who will be hunters rather than farmers, and they will request connections so that they can go and basically hunt through your connection list. So if you hide your connections to everybody but yourself, that's something that's not going to be able to happen. Okay. The other thing that you can do is that when somebody comes to your profile, if you look at your own personal profile on LinkedIn, you'll have your main section running through the center, and then on the right hand side there'll be a couple of columns. And often, if you look at the right hand column, there will be something that says something along the lines of, and people who looked at your profile also looked at these people. Now, those people are probably people doing exactly the same as you, or maybe your competitors. And one of the things you don't want to do is to send people who have come to your profile off to somebody else who does exactly the same as you. So in your settings, you can actually go in and you can hide that. So make sure that you do that. And this is what your settings and profile section looks like. And I would make sure that you work your way down through those settings and make it so that you're as visible as possible, but all that lovely collateral that you've got, like those fantastic connections you've made, that you keep them, and that you're not sending people off into the dim and distant parts of LinkedIn to find other people that do what you do, because you want them to connect with you and to talk to you, not some other person who does the same thing as you do. And then I think the key thing for me is never, ever send a connection request without personalizing it, because that join me on LinkedIn, whatever it says, I'd like you to be a connection on LinkedIn. Oh my God, you know, somebody's just sitting there on their phone hitting connect. Okay, so on both the desktop version and on the mobile version, there is an option to personalize your invitation. So when you do invite somebody, or you go to somebody, say, I'd like to connect with you because I looked at your profile, I was really, we went to the same school together, or oh my gosh, we used to work at the same company. It's about making those kinds of relationships. It's about making those kinds of connections. If you don't do it, it's the equivalent of going out of your house, walking up your street and going up to the first person you see and saying, will you be my friend? And you know what would happen if you did that? You'd probably end up in a jail somewhere. So don't do it online. Okay. Anything you want to put in there, Emma?
No, you've covered that and agree with everything.
Thank you. Good, because I'm going to hand over to you now.
Okay, so 7 days a week, would we use those days for to post on LinkedIn? Like I said before, we need to think about stuff that elicits a response. We all post on social media to make an impact and have an effect. We're not doing this for fun. We want to see that our marketing is actually having an impact on our bottom line. Easiest thing to do is share what you think, share an opinion. We have to be Marmite nowadays. We can't be vanilla. I'm not saying that you've got to be Trump, but you do need to be able to share something that you think about what's going on either within your business, within your industry, or the wider world. And I can see at the moment, you know, people are coming out of their shell hugely to say, you know, how lockdown's affected them, both from a personal and professional aspect, and it's really great to see people actually talking about stuff, and then someone else will chime in and say, yeah, you know, that happened to me and here's how I dealt with it. That stuff's great. So start thinking about what you do in your daily business life, your daily behaviours that could be turned into a question. You could talk about the things that are giving you inspiration, the things that you're getting you through lockdown. Each of us have got different coping mechanisms, and that's a very easy post to get people thinking and get people commenting. And the more people comment on your stuff, the more the algorithm sees that you're two-way dialoguing. We call it social media for a reason. It's social, it's got to be two-way. It's not just out, it's to draw stuff back in as well. To help you, a little tip here, think about the people in your network that you know will respond, and that way you can cheat at the beginning. Mention them in your post, ask them what they think, and that way the algorithm will see instantly that, yep, when they mention people, they will respond. We need to show those posts to more people. And if you need some buddies, think of a few of your colleagues that will respond, and form a bit of a collective at the beginning to give you a little bit of a helping hand. And then once people get into the habit of seeing you on LinkedIn, they're going to be more likely to respond. Because like Kathy said earlier, this is all about consistency. It's much better on social media to be like water rather than fire. So posting realistically for your business, that could be once a day, it could be once a week. Much better to do that than 3 times 1 week and then nothing for a month, because again, the algorithm can see that. And like I said, it's social, so be social yourself. Go on to a hashtag in your industry and start commenting on other people's stuff as well. Start responding to comments. The algorithm knows when you do that. And again, if it sees that you respond to comments and replies, it will show your post to more people. So start venturing out, look at who the influencers are in your industry or your sector that you want to perhaps collaborate with, or you want to form a partnership with, and start dropping little nuggets of your insight onto their profile, and then other people can see you and other people will start to connect with you as well.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I would say here as well, because there's always this question about, you know, company page, personal profile, which is which and what should I have? Basically, you need a company page and you need personal profiles. So even if you're a one-person business, you need both. If you're a larger business, you will need a company page, and then each of the staff within that organization, or as many of them as possible, will have a personal profile. And I think one of the things that you would think of there is, what kind of message do we want to come out from the company as a whole? And then you encourage your staff to share things from the company page through their personal profile, because that then actually gives your company much wider reach. But it also then gives them the opportunity to maybe put a little bit of their spin on terms of what the company's doing, those sorts of things. So all of this is about creating, I won't say a maelstrom, but it's about creating a buzz around what's going on. So making sure that the things are working in synergy with each other.
And I was going to say, you know, we've each got our own personal barometers of how much we want to share on social media. I don't share many pictures of my son, for example, but the posts where I've been more open and spoken about my personal journey, they've absolutely got the best response. So I did a post a few months ago about the fact that I used to drink 4 litres of Diet Coke every day, like from 6 in the morning till 12 at night, and I don't do that anymore. But that was a massive thing for me, and for anybody in business that knew me at that time would have known that Diet Coke was one of my things. So the fact that I've shared a little bit of my life was a really, really good thing on LinkedIn, because it helped my prospect customers think, actually, yeah, I could work with that girl, or oh my God, I definitely can work with that girl. So yeah, personal stuff is good, but obviously there's an individual limit to how much we each want to share or not share. There is some awful examples on LinkedIn of oversharing, and Kathy and I definitely don't do that, but we do it strategically. You know, I'll share stuff from my personal life if it's got a business objective behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the whole thing is about, how does this respond to business brand, whether it's a personal brand, a micro business brand, or a much larger one. But it's also your comfort space as well. So just because somebody's doing something in a way, it doesn't mean that you have to do it in that way as well. It has to feel comfortable with you. Okay.
That's a great point. Can I answer Mike's question? Mike was asking, is it more important to post on a personal level than a company page? And like Kathy said, we need to be doing both, but we need to be doing both for 2 different reasons. In general, on an individual level, you're going to grow much quicker. You're going to get much more response and views on a personal than a company page. So do that first, but use the company asset, the company posts within your personal feed to get double the goodies, as it were. So you're able to leverage your own personal network, but give the company look and feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, you might even think about, well, this type of post is more company wide, whereas this one is more personal. And that's the way I would get you to think about it. So quite often on my company page, I'll post about, say, some of the training courses that we're delivering, or maybe an article that I've written, or something like that. Whereas on my personal page, I'll be talking about, why aren't there any pictures of real women? Or you know, this is a problem that I've had, and this is how I overcame it. So there is a subtle difference between the 2 things. Okay. And recommendations. Oh, we live, breathe, die, grow, whatever, according to recommendations and reviews and testimonials these days. And LinkedIn is not any different to that. And we should actually be going out, and we should be actively seeking these things. So we should be asking people for them. If we've done a good job for somebody, we should ask them, and not in any kind of forceful gun at the head kind of way, but we should be asking them for those recommendations. Just a little bit of a hint: if you are doing some work with somebody and they've really benefited from the work that you've done, don't leave it too long to ask, because you know how life goes on, people will forget. So before you hand over the finished product or whatever, it might be a good idea to say, look, and would you mind giving us a recommendation on LinkedIn? The other thing I'd say there is attempt to be as specific as possible. And I put a couple of my recommendations up here, and the one that's there from Elaine James, it tells you what I did with her and the difference that it's made to her. So it's lovely to get one that says she's a nice person, but actually if it says she's a nice person and this was the impact it had on me, that's a much more forceful and useful recommendation than just she's a nice person. Okay. And I think that we have to be, if we're expecting to get them, we should be giving them. But just one thing, don't do a quid pro quo. I'll give you one if you give me one, because quite often what people will look at is they say, oh, let's go and have a look at Elaine James. And if I'd given her one on exactly the same day, it would look like, oh, hello, they've worked this out between themselves. Okay, so just make sure that if somebody's done a good job for you and you're connected with them on LinkedIn, go and tell other people that they've done a good job for you, because you know how nice it is when you get a bit of praise, and people will be made up if you do that. Anything you want to add in there, Emma?
I was just agreeing with Wendy's comment in chat. Wendy says that she suggests the words, and yeah, we would agree with that. Give them a helping hand, and if there's something specific that you'd like to see in your recommendation, don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah, there was a little trick that I was taught a while ago, and you know, we're all busy people, and getting somebody saying, will you give me a recommendation on LinkedIn? It's like, yeah, I will, and I put it to one side. So somebody suggested that one of the things that you could do is say, would you give me a recommendation on LinkedIn? And maybe if you say something like this and you give them a couple of sentences, either they will edit those sentences or they will copy and paste them verbatim, and you will get precisely the kind of recommendation that you're looking for. It's not about tricking anybody or anything like that, because you have to have done the work and it has to be true. But basically, it takes the onus off the individual. You know, it's like if somebody asked you to do a job reference for them. You think, oh God, when am I going to get around to doing that? It just helps you. It just helps oil the wheels. I think that's the easiest way to describe it. Okay. Have we got any other questions that have come through in the chat, Emma?
We're all up to date. We're good.
Excellent. Because we've come to any questions. So that's our slide-driven thing. So I was going to pop over to Kayleen and say, you know, have any questions come through, or are there any comments or questions from people that we could be answering?
Thank you so much. I don't know about anyone else, but I found that so useful, and I will definitely be updating my LinkedIn following this webinar. So we had an additional question from Mike saying, so do you need to attract people to follow your company page who also, sorry, a little chat pop up, who are also your personal contact?
Sorry, Kayleen, do you mind repeating the question for me?
So you need to attract people to follow your company page who are also your personal contact.
Yeah, so a good tip on that is if you share from the company page directly back to your personal profile, the person will be able to follow your company page that way.
Yeah, and what I've found sometimes as well is that that if you post on your company page, not many people sort of go actively out looking for company pages on LinkedIn, but if you share it into your personal profile, people quite often who are part of your network will go and look at your company page and follow it. But the other side of it is that people who maybe aren't in your network but see your post, and I've had this quite frequently, is they don't necessarily send a connection request to me, but they go and they follow my company page. So you get a mixture of both.
Kathy, are you okay to answer the question around what to write about in your about section if you've had numerous different skills and jobs and experience, and then I'll do the skills in the profile section, if that's all right?
Yeah, that's what I can't see any of them. So yeah, just tell me what I have to say and I'll say it. So.
If your personal profile has a scattered work history, what would you write about in your about section?
Right. So in your about section, you should be writing about what you do now. Okay. Your about section is very much about, it's like the about page on your website, or but it's that more descriptive bit about what you do and how you do it and how you help at the current time. If we think about your work history, which is a work experience, which is in a slightly different space, I've been around for quite a number of years, and I spent a considerable amount of my early career working in one specific industry, going from one job to the other, to the other, to the other. So if I put my whole work history in there, it would be too long. So what I've done is I've done an amalgam in terms of my previous work experience. So I think from the year about 1981 up until just before the year 2000, I may have amalgamated everything, and I said during that period of time, this is the industry that I worked in, these are the kinds of jobs I did, this is the skill set that I got. So basically I amalgamated it into one so that it's a bit of an easier read.
I'm going to answer the questions regarding skills section for Nigel. So Nigel's asking, what's our view on use of the skills section? So that helps you get found for what you do. So if you make sure that all of your skills that you want to go to market with are included in that section, when people do a search in the top bar for people that do social media or people that do business mentoring, Kathy and I will both come up because our profiles have been optimised to the skills that we offer. So yeah, it is really important that your profile, it does include the skills that you can go to market with for that reason, because LinkedIn has got an SEO functionality in that we want to make sure that we've got all the keywords that relate to our business products and services within our profile, and skills is part of that. And then following on from that, Johnny's question is how much should you share on education, skills and endorsements? I think, and I think Kathy would agree, for me, I've gone kind of senior school and above. I didn't go to uni, I went to University of Life. So I've gone senior school, college, and I haven't put any of my kind of part-time jobs as a kid on there. So only stuff that's relevant. And in terms of endorsements, LinkedIn's algorithm has changed on that as well. So before, you'd very much be prompted every day to give people endorsements, whether you'd ever worked with them or not, whether you knew they could actually do the job or not. They're scaling that back now. So recommendations, I would focus on much more endorsements, because endorsements, anyone can endorse you at a click of a button, whether they actually know you can do it or not. So recommendations, you've proved that you can do it, you've proved that you offer good service. So yeah, recommendations over endorsements for sure. And I'll just finish on the Q&A. So Jenny's saying, to see who views your profile, LinkedIn want you to subscribe to premium, but how necessary is it to see who's looking at you? I think, Jenny, it depends how much you want to stalk the other way as well. Kathy, this tip on settings of privacy. Using that tip, I can still stalk in private without paying any extra, and I can view anybody I want without going onto the premium. So even if you did pay for premium and somebody put their profile on the private, you wouldn't see anyone, you just spent 50 quid a month. So personally, I won't worry about who's looking at you. I'd worry more about the people that have connected with you and that have sent messages, because we never know really who's finding us, who's searching us and who's seeing us online, really, anyway. Hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, I wouldn't, I tend to do a tiny bit of due diligence in terms of connection requests, because although I say that, you know, always personalise invitations, I still get a lot from people who never do. And so I always make sure that I view their profile. I'm probably doing it on my phone while I'm having my breakfast, to be honest, but I look at their profile, I look at what they've been posting, how often they post, the kind of content that they're doing, and it's not that do I agree with what they're saying or not, but I want to see if somebody's being active on there. I want to see if they're, or if they're just being a collector, because there are people who just collect connections and then they don't engage at all on LinkedIn at all. So I go and do a little bit of due diligence, and I do that. But as Emma said, one of the things that you can do in your settings is, you know, we haven't got time today because we've got a shorter space of time, because we do this in the full length session that we do, because we go actually into a profile and we go into the back. There is a space in the settings where you can turn off people seeing you. So if you are doing, sounds awful, if you are doing a little bit of stalking, or you want to go and check out, or you want to check somebody out, but you don't want them to know that you're doing it, you can go in the back and you can turn yourself off, go and have a good mooch around, and then come back and switch it back on again. That's just one way of doing it without being seen.
I love that little tip.
Hack. Can I answer Johnny's question about, do we ever remove contacts? Yes, we do. I had a situation a couple of months ago where I got, in inverted commas, hounded by somebody, and absolutely I removed them. So yeah, if you need to, it's absolutely fine to block somebody and unfollow them when the need arises. And unfortunately on LinkedIn, sometimes the need does arise. Don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, and I think, you know, one of the things I say with everything, again, this is me, the whole systems and processes thing. I do housekeeping on all of my stuff. And so one of the things I do with LinkedIn, and it's usually over the Christmas holidays because I find them quite boring. And I'll go into my and I'll go through my list, and I'll have a look and say, yeah, that person hasn't posted in 6 months. Why have they bothered to connect? I also did that some years ago because I moved industry, and so I had loads of connections who were relevant for one part of my life, but not relevant necessarily for the new part of my life. And I did a little bit of housekeeping and unfollowing. And actually, because of my age, I hate to say it, but there were quite a few people who'd retired. And so it was a question of, you know, it's all very well and good, but walking the dog 5 days a week is not necessarily the kind of thing that I'm interested in. God, that makes me sound hard. I don't mean it to sound that way at all.
Thank you. So I'm just going to see if anyone's got any other questions. We're waiting to see if any more pop up. Do you want to just tell everyone about your workshop that you're running next week?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've put the next 3 up. Here's me being a bit of a glutton. So we're actually running the full version of this, where we dive into the back of the profile and do quite a bit of mooching around next Friday on Zoom again. You can find us on Eventbrite. And then we've got a couple of Instagram workshops coming up. We run these on Friday mornings 10 till 12, very much like this in terms of engagement and conversation and those sorts of things. So, you know, if anybody's interested in those, come and find us on Eventbrite. But I know that Kayleen, you're going to send a copy of the slides around to people anyway, aren't you? So so you'll have those links there too.
Yes, I will. So I think we've answered everything. By the looks of the chat, David has said, Emma, Kathy, really great event, clever and well constructed, and several useful tips, and has really encouraged me to get active on LinkedIn. I mean, it's definitely done it for me, and I hope it's done it for everyone else. So thank you so much. We've got another one from Nigel. Great presentation and love the engaging style and the seamless handovers. Oh, they're all coming in now. So thank you so much. I will share the chat script with both Kathy and Emma, because if not, I think we'll be here for quite a while. So I'm glad everyone's found that really useful. I'm sorry, but my eyes are now going to water for some random reason. Oh, we've just had a message from Mike saying you didn't mention hacking.
Let me answer this. Mike, I've seen a few of my network have been hacked over the last 6 months as well. So Mike's offered a tip here that if you see an attachment in LinkedIn message, do check it out that it's bona fide before you open it, because that is a way that people are hacking email addresses and hacking info. So yeah, beware of that. Great point. Thanks for sharing, Mike.
Yeah, I'd do that on absolutely everything, because there's a lot of people seem to have taken the last 3 months in order to get a little bit more nefarious than usual. So anything that you're using, I'd say exactly the same on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you are. I'm getting loads of strange stuff coming through on Instagram at the moment. So just deleting and blocking. So just be wary of that on any platform you're using.
Right, thank you so much. My eyes have, oh, God knows what, great timing. No technical fault, but my eyes will just stream at the end. You were that good, you made me cry. Oh, it was amazing. So just let people know as well, I am in discussion with Kathy and Emma about running a couple more webinars. So we're going to look at Facebook ads, the basics, and top tips on making your Facebook page work for your business. So watch this space. As soon as we've got dates confirmed, I will start advertising that, and feel free to book on. So we've answered questions, we've got 2 minutes to spare, and yeah, thank you everyone for all your lovely kind words. I mean, I'm not taking credit, I'm saying thank you Kathy and Emma for the amazing webinar. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining us, especially on a Friday afternoon. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Also massive woo to Kathy and Emma. It was amazing. And yeah, we hope to see you all again soon. I will, as I said, as soon as I get the presentation, I'll share it with everyone, as well as the links and their up and coming workshops as well. So yeah, if you're not linked in with Kathy and Emma, I suggest go and do it. But just be mindful that you need to be active, or else they might unfollow you. So yeah.
And personalise the invitation.
So yeah, I don't know, Kathy and Emma, if you want to say thank you before I sign off.
Yeah, just thanks so much for coming along today, folks. We really, really appreciate it. And thanks so much to the Chamber for inviting us to do this. I was so excited when they asked, and yeah, we're looking forward to doing some more.
Perfect. Well, see everyone later.